María Elena under the storm. María Elena stepped off the bus, with her heart pounding against her chest. It was a warm midday in July 2024, and the air at the Valencia station smelled of metal and distance. She carried a red suitcase, a small backpack, and a plastic envelope where she carefully kept her passport, her university degree, a couple of photographs, and a letter from her mother. She had left everything behind in her country, Honduras. A small house with a zinc roof, an unstable job at a clinic, and a constant fear that seeped into her body like humidity. For years she had endured, trying not to look at the bodies lying in the streets, nor to listen to the screams in the nights of her neighborhood. She had education, she had dreams, but in her land, those dreams did not put food on the table. When the gangs began extorting her family, when one afternoon her brother did not return from the store, she understood that staying was a death sentence. Violence had turned her city into an invisible trap. So she decided to leave, sell everything, bet on life. On the plane, she cried without making a sound. It wasn't sadness, it was vertigo. "I'm going to start over," she repeated to herself again and again, as the plane lights faded over the Atlantic. In the seat next to her, a woman smiled at her. "You're going to be okay, dear," she said. And that phrase stayed in her chest like an amulet. At the airport, Julia was waiting for her, a childhood friend who had immigrated 3 years earlier. Julia hugged her tightly and said, "You're here now. The worst is over." She found her a room in a shared house in Benetúser, a small town in the Lorta Sud region, with quiet streets and the smell of bread in the mornings. At first, María Elena couldn't sleep. The silence of Spanish nights kept her awake. She had lived so long surrounded by noise, gunshots, motorcycle engines, that silence felt like a threat. But gradually she began to feel at ease. Within a few days, she found a job caring for an elderly man in a wheelchair, Don Miguel, who lived alone on the ground floor. It wasn't an easy job, but María Elena did it with a natural tenderness. She prepared his meals, read him the newspaper, took him to the doctor. "You're like a granddaughter," the old man would tell her, and she would smile. The salary was modest, but enough to pay the rent and send a little money to her mother. She felt useful, alive, needed. For the first time in years, fear did not dictate her life. Every morning before starting her day, she walked to a bakery where they served her coffee with milk and toast. She greeted the owner in Valencian, "Bon dia, gracias," and began to feel part of that new world. She dreamed of validating her radiology technician degree and working in a hospital. She kept her documents in a blue folder, the same one that had crossed the ocean with her. Every night, she took them out, looked at them, and promised herself that one day she would finally be able to do what she was trained for. But fate does not always keep its promises. October 29th, 2024. The day dawned under low clouds and dense air. On the news, they mentioned storms were coming. But in Valencia, storms were something common. María Elena paid no attention. She prepared the old man's breakfast, cleaned the floor, put soft music on the radio. By mid-morning, it began to rain. First gently, then harder. In less than an hour, the drops turned into needles. The sound was deafening. The drainage channels overflowed. Water began to rise through the streets. From the window, she saw cars floating, containers being dragged, dogs barking in the water. Don Miguel called from his room. "María, what's happening?" "Don't worry, Don Miguel. It's just rain." But it wasn't just rain. It was a wall of water pushing against the door. By the time she realized, the water had already entered. She tried to block it with towels, with cloths, with whatever she found. Within minutes, the floor disappeared under a brown layer. The furniture was floating. The old man screamed. María Elena felt a fear she recognized instantly, the same one that had chased her in her country, the fear of dying without any warning. She ran to push the wheelchair towards the stairs. The water reached her knees. Outside, the neighbors' screams mixed with the thunder of the sky. A woman came down from the second floor. It was Antonia, her neighbor. "Bring the old man up, quickly!" she shouted. Between the two of them, they managed to get him to the first floor. When they looked down, the living room was already a pool of mud. The refrigerator was floating like a boat. The current was sweeping everything away. Memories, photographs, medicine, clothes. María Elena clenched her teeth. The building trembled. They spent hours up there, trapped. No electricity, no phone signal, not knowing if the water would keep rising. Outside, lightning illuminated an end-of-the-world landscape. Don Miguel was crying. Antonia was praying. María Elena looked out the window and, in the middle of the chaos, she thought, "I came fleeing from fear, and fear has followed me here." Then, almost without thinking, she crossed herself and whispered, "Lord, if you save me this time, I promise I won't give up." At dawn, everything was calm. The water stopped rising. The rain ceased. The next morning, when the emergency services managed to enter the neighborhood, the streets were rivers of mud and overturned cars. María Elena walked down barefoot. Everything was covered in thick sludge. Nothing recognizable remained. She sat on the curb and looked at the sky. She didn't cry. She just breathed deeply, as if she had just woken from a nightmare. For days, she lived in a sports center set up for people affected by the storms. She slept on an inflatable mattress alongside dozens of families. Being there, she discovered another kind of helplessness, bureaucracy. To receive aid, she had to be registered, have a contract, prove residency. But she had none of that. She was invisible in the records, invisible to institutions. No one asked about caregivers, cleaners, women living in rented rooms without contracts. Sometimes she heard politicians on the radio saying that migrants abused aid. "That's a lie," she thought angrily. "We come to work, not to beg." But the words weighed on her. She felt that in addition to losing her home, she had to justify her right to exist. The old man was moved to a nursing home. María Elena lost her job. She survived thanks to the solidarity of neighbors and volunteers. Ordinary people who cooked for those affected, organized clothes, cleaned streets. In the midst of the disaster, she met Clara, a young Valencian woman who coordinated an association supporting migrants. Clara offered her legal help. "You have the right to start over," she told her, and María Elena believed her. For months, the two of them worked together. They submitted documents, filled out forms, waited for answers. María Elena moved into a shared apartment in Valencia City and began looking after 2 children by the hour. On weekends, she volunteered. They cleaned streets, collected destroyed furniture, planted trees. She met more migrants there who had gone through the same situation: Colombians, Ecuadorians, Nigerians, Moroccans. People had also lost everything. They formed a small support community together. They laughed, cooked, cried. From that storm, a family was born. On August 20th, 2025, the news came through. The government approved an extraordinary regularization process for those affected by the Dana floods. María Elena submitted her application with trembling hands. She waited almost a month. She checked her email every day with a knot in her chest. And one morning, when she opened it, she found the message: "Your application has been approved." She stood still, reading the sentence over and over again. Then she cried. She cried like she hadn't during the storm, not from pain, but from relief. At last, she had a legal identity, papers, rights. At last, she could breathe. That same day, she returned to the street where she had worked. The building was already rebuilt. New neighbors, painted walls, the smell of fresh paint. But on the sidewalk, scars remained, dried mud stains, watermarks. She stopped at the door, closed her eyes, and said softly, "Thank you for letting me live." She left a bouquet of white flowers and walked away without looking back. From then on, her life began to change. She was able to enroll in a nursing assistant course, thanks to her papers. She studied in the afternoons and worked in a care home in the mornings. She had little free time, but she was happy. Every time she applied a bandage or checked an elderly person's blood pressure, she remembered Don Miguel and smiled. Sometimes she participated in meetings and gatherings of migrant associations. She would tell his story, talk about the storm, about invisibility, and about the strength of women who do not give up. "The worst part of it wasn't the water," she would say. "The worst part of it was feeling that we didn't exist. But we do exist. We are part of this country. We work, we care, we help. We also cry when the water rises. We also dream of a better future." Her words spread amongst the volunteers in schools, in neighborhood associations. Many were moved listening to her. Some journalists interviewed her. Her testimony became a symbol of hope, of silent resistance, but she never saw herself as a heroine. "I just survived," she would say. "That's not heroism, it's necessity." On autumn afternoons, when she walked through the Turia garden, she would stop by the river. She looked at the calm water and remembered that night when everything was taken away. Water can destroy everything, she thought, but it can also cleanse. She learned to see life like that river, changing, unpredictable, but always moving. Sometimes she would remember her mother, the zinc roof house, the smell of roasted corn at dawn. She promised to visit her soon, though she knew her place was now elsewhere. "I didn't come to rob anything," she said to herself. "I came to contribute, to build, to care." Deep down, that defined her, a woman who, despite pain, kept choosing to care. 1 year after the storm, the community organized the commemorative event. Neighbors, firefighters, volunteers, migrants gathered. There was music, speeches, flowers. María Elena stepped onto the stage and spoke with no notes, only from the heart. I came here looking for peace. I thought Spain would be a refuge. I never imagined living something like this. But in the middle of the storm, I found something greater than fear. I found humanity, people who reached out to me without asking where I came from. And I understood that it's not about countries, but about people. For a moment, everything fell silent. And then the room erupted in applause. Many cried. María Elena stepped down from the stage with wet eyes but her head held high. In that moment, she understood that her story no longer belonged only to her. It was the story of thousands of migrant women who crossed seas searching for an opportunity and who, even in the midst of disaster, continued to be support and hope. That night, back home, she lit a candle by the window. She looked at the clear sky. She thought about everything she had lost and everything she had gained. The storm had stripped her of all material things, but it had also revealed what truly mattered: the strength to keep going, the power of solidarity, the dignity of those who resist in silence. The wind moved the curtain. The flame trembled for a moment, but it did not go out. And María Elena smiled, because she knew deep down that as long as there were people who refused to give up, no storm of water or of prejudice could ever truly wash hope away. Step by step, she kept moving forward, not as a victim, but as a survivor. Not as a foreigner, but as a woman who had learned to belong. Translated and narrated by Gribler. Author José Pardal.